Most people dream about having that ideal lifestyle, whether that's freedom, getting to travel more, doing more meaningful work, having location independence. But most will never, actually live that life, or they will never live up to their true potential. And that's unfortunate because I know for me, I fell into the same trap for some time, and it didn't come until not too long ago where I feel like I needed to make a change in pace and so forth, and needed to reevaluate my priorities and what I wanted to get out of life. So this video will talk about why most people will never live their ideal lifestyle, which is unfortunate. But you watching this video, you will never have to you don't have to live that prescribed path in life or to live a life of mediocrity. So that's what I'm talking about in this video. So, you know, a lot of people go through the motions and the moments throughout the day where, you have to, figure out what you want to do, or, you know, what you're doing right now. If you're working a 9 to 5 job and trying to figure out things and so forth, and how you can uh, make the most out of life, it can be difficult for some people. And so let me give you some context. A moment at work, or whether you're doing something else where you realize that there's a gap between your current corporate reality and your ideal lifestyle. If you're feeling drained after having a parental style meeting, which I discussed in another video, uh, or if it's analyzing pay stub or your freedom goals, and then or even having a breakthrough in maybe growing your business if you have some type of business on the side. you know it's something that you have to think about. And when you look at it in a way, getting caught in the good employee grind, or speculating on office drama, or delaying on side income, these are real struggles to take place with. And there was a time early on where I fell for the trap of working a good job, and getting good benefits and so forth, and working a lot of overtime. Yet the end result was uh, less meaningful work, or it was not purposeful. I felt burnt out, and I also was not doing things that were in my interests. And I feel that there was a lot of hours and weeks that I've wasted on my real potential, and not being the best version of myself. Now, was I working and making money? Yes, but I was doing so in a way where I wasn't doing my thing, or I wasn't pursuing my passions like I wanted to early on. So, you know, there's going to come a time, and you may have had that moment, or maybe you will have that moment where you got to think differently about your current situation. And so, the decision to treat your job as temporary fuel for lifestyle, or a better type of life, you know, that will come. And whether that is wanting to do something on the side, whether it's creating content, or you want to make a YouTube channel, or you want to get better at making income on the side, where you can get to a point where you don't have to uh, live that life that you have been prescribed to. And so, as I look at it, you know I've made progress on my journey, and there's no doubt that you can make that change in direction as well. And why I feel different from taking a path that most people will never do, and looking at other alternatives and so forth. But that's just my thoughts, and I feel like a lot of people are not living the ideal lifestyle that they want. They choose to work for someone else and to pursue someone else's dream rather than pursuing their own dream. Now, just think about that. Most people today opt, whether it's intentional or not, to build someone else's dream, yet they won't take this they won't take this idea, or they will never take the time to uh, build their own dream for themselves. And I've talked about this before, but if you can work 8 hours building someone else's dream, also known as your employer, then why not set an hour each day to build your own dream? Why not take that time to pursue your own passions and to consider it in a way where you can look to improve your own situation? That way, in the long run, you can get that ideal lifestyle that you want. So, why do most people fail in this? Well, they fall into the comfort zone traps. Uh, they're going through societal pressure. You know, in a lot of cases, when young adults graduate from high school, a lot of them will go to college, and that comes from, pressure from their families. And I fell in that category as well early on, and it wasn't a good path for me. So you go from the college route then to getting a job, and then you climb the so-called corporate ladder. And once you get into that good job position and you get a promotion or you get a big pay raise, then you fall for lifestyle inflation. And that leads to poor financial habits as well. And you live through that and you go through the motions over time, and you may come to a point where you have a lack of clear vision and you're thinking short term. You're thinking that that pay raise or that promotion might help you make your life better, but really it's not. And so when I look at it from a deeper perspective, you know, the work that you do, there may be a big misalignment. If you're chasing that status over freedom, then that can be a real problem. Or not having any real systems. If you're not setting time to be more productive, or are there other ways that you can be more productive with your time? Uh, you know, that's something to think about as well. And, you know, the corporate culture that you're in, that can discourage your own lifestyle as well. You know, a lot of people want to live the life that they desire, and a lot of times it's not working in an office job. But if you're in an environment where you're learning how to adapt to corporate culture, then that will definitely move away from your goals in life and so forth. And so oftentimes people feel lifelong regrets, they feel desperate, they're financially stressed out, and they're missing out on the real opportunities for wealth, for freedom, and to create impact on other people. Especially if they're in high cost, high stress environments, that can come at a cost. And believe me, I've been in the corporate environment where, it's stressful and it can take a toll on your health physically and mentally. And it's not good either way. So here's the thing. No matter where you're at in life right now, if you're just starting out a career or if you're working a job that you don't like, you can make a change. You can start with having that intentional lifestyle. Doing something like defining your own ideal day, your ideal week, and, you know, start doing that and figure that out, what you want to do. And, that can be where you want to live, location wise. You want to have multiple streams of income. What about your relationships and your health? I mean, those are all things that you have to take into consideration, and it can uh, make a difference. So, building support system as well. You know, having like good savings and investing strategies. For me, I trade every week, and that is a good way for me to build income and so forth, and being able to target a 1% a week approach where I'm gradually getting better, 1% every week. And you got to have a shift in that mindset. Treating your 9 to 5 as just a temporary thing, that's something you have to look into and say, hey, your job is not permanent. It's only temporary for now until you get into a better situation, and go from there. And you have to focus on controllable actions, instead of the speculation or, making up excuses for not living the life that you want. So, but those are just some things that you want to keep in mind of. And also, here are some other takeaways to think about. Uh, the first one is that you have to define your ideal lifestyle ruthlessly. You have to get specific. You know, I'm getting to the point now where I don't want to be in the location I'm in right now. I mean, here I am sitting in it's a nice apartment. I'm uh, a nice in a nice area. I'm in the northwest suburbs from the city of Chicago and so forth. Much better than where I was at living downtown. But I know that I don't want to be here forever. I do have uh, the intention, and I do have desires to move outside of the country or to move abroad, because I do know that the cost of living is much better, and I feel like the quality of life is much better as well. You know, Not to say that the United States is not a great place, but I'm finding it that it's not really what I expected it to be. And you know, I think life in America is becoming much more stressful, and it's clear these days with people having financial problems and health problems and so forth. So it's there. So when I say getting specific, you know, consider relocation. You know, other countries like in Asia, where say places like Thailand or Vietnam, they have much better cost of living, and there's those are places you want to consider as well. Not to say that those are endorsements, but I've heard a lot of great places. I've heard a lot of good things from places like Thailand and Bali and Vietnam and so forth. You have Europe as well, and you have Central America. So, there are many places that you can consider to relocate and can make a difference in the life that you want. But, most people, they'll just stay vague and they just won't take action. But this is why I bring back to my early point, is that you have to define your clear goals, and that clarity drives action for the most part. The second one is that you want to build financial and mental systems early on. For me, I use trading, whether that's the wheel strategy or doing options trading, as something I want to do. And also other side projects, to create that escape velocity. Avoiding lifestyle creep that keeps you chained to the corporate grind, that's going to be the best thing that you can do. And I'm actively working on that right now, whether that's, doing this YouTube channel or doing writing, and, doing other things like, trading, that are going to help me get to the next step in life, so that way I can escape that corporate grind. And then finally, you know, be consistent. Whether you're fearful or you don't want to do something, or, you don't want to, if you're someone like me, you know, if you want to start that YouTube channel and you keep going, but there are days where you don't want to record a video, then so be it. The fact is that you have to be consistent with it, and you have to remain disciplined. And hey, I'll tell you right now, me doing this video, this is a day where I'm not feeling 100%, or, you know, I could just not do it at all and just I could just sit around and eat junk food and just sit around all day and watch YouTube videos, but I'm not going to do that. Me doing this is the best example of me being disciplined, because I know that I want to reach people and I want to express my thoughts on an important topic that a lot of people aren't considering. So for me to do this and to make the decision or the choice to rather create over consuming, which is what most people do, I'd rather do that. I'd rather be consistent with my actions, and I want to keep up with the discipline of making videos, whether that's not in the most ideal setting or, even going out and so forth. You have to make the decision to, keep building your ideal lifestyle relentlessly. And on a day like today, I made the decision to create rather than just to consume, because I think we're better off creating stuff rather than just passively consuming stuff. And I really hope that you take something out of this video, that, not only will you just watch this video passively, but that you will use these takeaways as a learning lesson, and you can use that as a stepping stone to take action, to pursue the life that you want. So for me, that really is important. And for most people, they fail because they're just waiting for those perfect conditions. But the key thing is that just start small today. Do one thing today. If you want to start that business or you want to learn how to trade, you know, just put aside 20 to 30 minutes to, learn how to do a skill or get started on the right path to doing something. Spend a half hour today to learn how to do that thing, whatever it is. And also be sure to protect your time and energy for what matters. You want to put yourself on the right path to be, go to real freedom. And me going on an anti-careerist path to pursuing my own goals and my own dreams and desires to live the life that I want, that is a path well pursuing, and it's well worth looking into. So, but that's what I want to go over today. I know I generally went over the idea of lifestyle design and so forth. This is something that I have looked into more, and I, you know, first learned about it from, a book called The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. It's a really great book. It is a bit outdated, almost 20 years old, but the concept of lifestyle design and the principles remain relevant today, in 2026 and beyond. So, you know, I touched upon it, and it's something that I really am, uh, I'm really into. I bought into, and I really hope that you will look into that as well. If you want to read the 4 Hour Work Week, or continue watching these videos where I go over lifestyle design, because most people won't live their ideal lifestyle because they have unseen barriers with their mindset, or they're falling into systems that don't work for them. But you can break that pattern to lead yourself to design it, to live a more intentional life, and to execute it daily. So you want to tie it back to your own life and your own vision, whether that's through wealth, through freedom, and impact through trading, creating content, and ditching the default path in life. You know, I am currently writing a book right now. I won't go and get into the details, but I dive more into uh, how I want young people to get out of this current path. But more to come on that later. So, you know, what does your ideal lifestyle look like? Is this something where you just wake up in the morning to an environment that uh, inspires you or motivates you to want to do something each day after you wake up? Are you surrounded by people who uplift you and who are positive? If not, then I encourage you to start thinking about, you know, considering an alternative path. What are other things that you can do in life besides, working a job or being in a environment that you don't want to be in? So that's something to think about. And, this is something that I discuss a lot about in my latest ebook called Three Paths, Three Prisons, Freedom or Indentured Servitude. And in that book, I go over the most common or typical paths that young adults take in life. And then afterwards, I provide an alternative to what you can do instead, rather than just you know fall for or continue to be on one of these paths. So if that interests you and you want to learn more, be sure to check out the video link in the description below. You can also scan the QR code at the end of this video. And I really hope to see you on the other side. You'll get on my email list, and we go over more of these terms in general. So that's all I got for now. So what does your ideal lifestyle look like? What is one step that you're taking toward achieving that life that you want? Uh, if these are questions that you know you want to say out loud, or if you want to leave in the comment section below, I would love to hear your thoughts. So feel free to leave any thoughts you have in the comment section, and I'll be glad to read them over and we can start a good discussion. So other than that, that's all I got for this video. I know it's a little long, but it's definitely a topic that I think needs to be discussed more, and how people can start living the life that they want, rather than live in misery or be in mediocrity, because that's what I don't want, and I hope that's something that you don't want as well. So, but anyway, I know it's been a long video. I hope you got something out of it, and other than that, that's all I got. Until next time, peace.